Hi folks, how you doing? So today I am sharing with you something that I feel is very important. So you guys know that I'm living in Spain and that living in Spain for me is a dream come true. Living in a different country is a dream come true. But I'm sharing with you today I'm walking through the mental minefield of living your dreams. Now, this is a disclaimer. This is going to be a very, very vulnerable video. So if that's not what you're about, please click away. Less viewers of that, cool. But if that intrigues you, stick around. Okay, so this video started as like a journal entry, and then I was like, I kind of want to share this because I feel like people walk through or have similar situations. Maybe not similar situations, but they're attacked in the same way. And so I want to walk through the process of what it's like in my mind when anxiety attacks and how to combat that. Okay, so here I go. So before I came to Spain, like when I first graduated, I was working as a substitute teacher for a while, which was pretty cool. And then the pandemic, so that shut everything down. And then I started working back in the schools, and I was working at one school and I was like an aide. So I would go to different classes through that school, and I would assist with students who needed extra help. So if you had a kid who was like behind in reading, I come to say fourth period in Miss Smith's class to help with 2 or 3 students who need help with their reading. Because say that at 1:00, Miss Smith was going over reading. So I would help there. And then I would shoot over to 5th grade to help with writing when they got there. So any kid who had tested that they needed extra help, me and I think there were other aides like me in the school would go to those certain classes and give aid. Now, I was pretty good at it. Like, I was pretty good at the multitasking or like figuring out my schedule. Okay, I need to be here at this time. I need to be here at that time. Helping the students like one-on-one. That was cool. I was like basically an in-house tutor. And children are funny. They're hilarious to me. And so sometimes it was really, fun. And other days I was really like bored. I was bored. And the reason why I would say I got to like boredom is because while you're in-house tutor, you're like on the teacher's time. So like if you're in class, like, so I liked when I kind of could pull the students out and work one-on-one with them, because like I can organize what that would look like, what we're going to work on, kind of like the teacher would tell me what they need to work on and then we would work on it. But when you're in the class, you're kind of just in the class, the teacher's teaching, and they might look at you to be like, yeah, right? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. But like, it wasn't like I got to like participate as much. So I'd be standing in the back of the class and I'd be like, no, stay awake. And let me tell you, when I am bored, the way that sleep attacks me is ferocious. Like what I think is absolute torture is when you have to stay awake, but you want to go to sleep. And I don't just mean like, you like, oh, I'm tired. I'm talking about like your whole body is saying sleep. When your whole body is saying sleep and you're trying to stay awake, no, that's crazy. It's crazy. Like people who stay up late trying to do papers, I give it to the people who can stay up and study. I give it to the people who can stay up and finish a paper, because for me, like I got 5 words out. I'm going to sleep. All right. More of that story. Anyway, that was torture. Okay, that was torture. And so while I really liked aspects of that job, and I Yeah, I loved that. I mean, while I loved aspects of that job, I was like, I cannot do this anymore because I ultimately feel bored and I need to do something more. So I stopped, started working at another job that I really liked, but I still wanted to travel abroad. So the opportunity presented itself. I told you a little bit about the process. Now I'm here in Spain, right? So I'm here in Spain, and like I've told you guys like maybe 2 videos back about like what my like teaching, like the introduction week was like for me. So I was introducing myself to all these different classes that I'd be working in. I'm like sharing with them, my family, showing them pictures of my cousins, having them play little games. It was fun, right? So then like the natural rhythm of what would be happening started last week. So we're getting into the natural rhythm of things. And so I teach, I work with like some English classes, like, so like where they're learning English, I would come in that class. But I also work with some classes, like some technology and history classes, about like 6 or 7 of those, like 5 history classes and I think 3 technology classes. So eight of my classes, I'm working with teachers who are teaching subject matter that I'm not an expert in or like studied in right now. So these would not be classes that I can like lead out in. So I found myself in the same position that I was at that school, like in Atlanta. I was sitting on the side of the class, standing there, for the teacher to be like, oh yeah, this is how you say that word in English, or like, how is that in the United States, or like just one random question here or there, and I'm like, yeah, and then I'm back to just standing, and I was just like falling asleep, and I was like, no. How, Tori? How did you get here? How did you get into the same position that you were in 8 months ago? How did you do this? How, Tori? And I was like, no, I cannot. Because what happens is I want to go to sleep. And then, like, I'm at work, so I can't go to sleep. And then I feel guilty because I'm like, oh my God, Tori, you like, you're falling asleep. And then it's like, okay, well, if you don't have anything to do right now, find something to do, be innovative. And then I'm like, well, so then I'll try. And then like working with teachers is like, so you're trying and the teachers are trying too, because they don't know what to do with you. They didn't like, they didn't particularly like ask you to be in there. The teacher, like, you have been assigned to their classroom and they're still trying to figure out how to make you useful in the class too. So then when you try to make yourself useful, they're trying to like make room for you, but you can tell they're kind of uncomfortable still. Like, okay, I'm gonna start speaking now. So like, then it's awkward. I'm like, oh shit, no. Okay, I'll wait. Sorry, you got it. I'm sorry, my bad. It's weird. It's awkward. And so it's like, okay, how can I make the best of this? And then mind you, while I'm just flipping out that I'm like in the same predicament, I'm like, what? Mind you, I do have other English classes that like some of them, I would say like 2 of them like let me lead out most of the time. Like when I come in that day because I don't go to the same class every day. I have like 16 different classes that I go to. So on the day I go, 2 of those classes are like, all right, Tori's going to be sharing with you something, blah, blah, blah. So that's great for me because I feel like, because it makes me plan, which makes me feel responsible. And then, I like to engage with the students, and it gives me the full range to be able to do that. And I don't feel like leashed in or trapped into, boxed into what I can do. Like I don't feel like I have like, oh, 5 minutes, go, Tori. All right, stop. Or 1 minute, go. Oh, all right, stop. So yes, that I realized last week. I think it was like last Monday. I realized, okay, you're in a similar position and you have to deal with this. And then at first I was like, I I was feeling like you can't talk to anybody about this because people are gonna be like, Tori, you didn't know what you were moving to Spain to do? Like, how did you not know? And then I'm like, I did know what I was going to do, but I didn't add all stuff. So I didn't add it all up to realize I'd be in the same position. That was it. And then I felt like I keep saying, I felt like I was in the same position, which, oh my gosh, made me feel terrible. It was like, wow, you have not progressed. Like, what are you doing with your life? And then I definitely didn't want to say any of this because, like, I know, like, a lot of people have supported me getting here. And it was like, it was like, Tori, that nobody want to hear this shit. Like, they helped you get here. They don't want to hear, like, how, like, it's, like, hard for you or you're bored. Like, nobody wants to hear that, Tori. You're out in Spain, living in a different country. Nobody wants to hear that. So then it was like, what I tried to do was swallow all that. I'm like, all right, so what I'm swallowing exactly is, like, this, it's like this one thought can send you down a spiral. It sent me down a spiral. And the thought was, you have not progressed. You are in the same predicament. And mind you, let me just pause the class to share with you what I mean when I say I, like, fall asleep a little bit. So, like, this one teacher had me sitting, she didn't know what, like, she was like, it was a history class. So she was like, can you sit back there with those students? Because they talk a lot, basically. And so I'm sitting in between the students. So I'm sitting with them, had the kids switch because they talk too much to each other. So there's 2 students here, two students there. And I'm sitting at a desk. And I'm listening to her, and she's talking, and, like, so, like, my mind just starts to go to sleep. I think my mind used sleep as, like, an escape or whatever. So I start going to sleep, and then I'm, like, waking myself up. So then I stand up, and for whatever reason, I flip my chair around. So you know how you sit forward in a chair, like, the back of the chair is in front of you. So I don't know why I decided. I was half asleep. I'm deciding that that's what I'm going to do. So I'm sitting like that. And then I start falling asleep. And, like, I sway a little bit, and I start falling out the chair, and I felt myself falling out the chair, and I jerked myself back. So my chair jerked, so the entire class stopped and looked at me, and I'm like, okay. And so then they turn back around, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So, mind you, I don't really think they knew what happened because I'm in the back of the class. Even the students who are next to me, like, maybe they knew. Maybe, like, I feel like the kid right there was, like, laughing, like, slick, like, smiling. I feel like he knew. But maybe the rest of them didn't. And maybe I'm just trying to make myself feel better. But whatever. So then at the end of the class, the teacher was like, oh, thanks, they were very quiet today. You were a great help. And I was like, okay. Glad I could help. I didn't know if she just, like, went past the fact that I fell asleep, or she didn't see it because she was teaching and maybe she wasn't looking directly, like, at me. Right. But then the next day, I'm sitting at the front of the class, and I'm sitting at the teacher's desk, and the teacher's standing and teaching, and, like, I'm falling asleep again, and I'm like, no, Tori, you're in front of all these kids. You cannot do this now. So then I'm, like, trying to wake. I do so many random things to try to, like, make myself, like, be awake. So then I'm, like, leaning. The teacher starts writing something on the board. So I, like, lean forward to act like I'm looking at it. But I was still, I guess, half asleep. So because I'm leaning forward, I almost, like, fell and hit my chin on the desk. So I had to catch myself, and I was like, oh my gosh. So when I say it sent me down a spiral, it was like, Tori, you're in a similar position where you're going to feel like you're not doing enough. And yeah, so I was, like, dealing with that, and I didn't know how to talk about it because like I did talk about it with somebody and they were like, I mean, that's not that bad. You have a good job. Stop trying to take it so seriously. And I'm like, okay. So I tried to just push past it. And then I was like feeling ungrateful. It was like, so after hearing that, I'm like, oh, maybe you're just being ungrateful. Like, you know, you're here in Spain, you have a home, a place to stay, you finally got settled, and now you're at this job, and maybe it's not the greatest thing in the world, but like, why are you complaining? Like, why are you complaining? So then my mind is like, all right. I mean, it's like, I'm like, all right, fine, I won't complain. I'm sorry, I'm not complaining. So then my mind starts trying to, so I want to use different words. So like me, and I'm going to use my mind. So for the rest of this, I'll probably refer back to forth between those. So my mind is like, I don't know what my mind's saying in this, but I'm like, okay, let me try to solve this problem. Like, if I'm in the same position, maybe there's something I can do. Maybe I can be resourceful here in class, or maybe I could just do some stuff on the side, like so that like I can build up my photography so that like I can start depending on that full time and I wouldn't have to do teaching. So then when I'm trying to do that, then my mind is saying, oh yeah, but like you are not consistent. You don't have drive. You don't have discipline. You don't have a plan. And you have like 11 things to master here. Like, you need to learn Spanish, and you need to know your finances. You need to start investing, because every day, every minute, you're wasting money by not investing. You need to master team building and social relationships. You need to like practice your writing that you said you want to do. You need to practice your photography. You need to practice the video editing you said you want to do. You need to spend more time on graphic design like you wanted to practice. You need to master your fitness and your diet like you know is important to you. You need to work on your YouTube channel. You need to work on your mental health. You need to like make sure you're doing well in this teaching, because that's the job you're here for. And so like I hear all that and I'm like, okay, I do have a lot to do. And then, mind you, don't forget that it just told me you're not consistent though. And you don't have no discipline or drive. And you don't got a plan. So how are you going to do all this? So then what happens is I'm like, okay. Netflix, here I come. So like, I'm watching Netflix and binging on, you know, my drug of choice at that time. And then my mind is like, yeah, that's why you never gonna be like Issa Rae like you want to, or you'll never accomplish the things like Adrian Beta has been able to accomplish, or Javen Cornelius with his shoe shine media. You can't do any of that because you don't have no consistency. You don't have no drive. You don't have no discipline. You don't have no plan. So then I just dive deeper into the watching the TV, and then like spending hours doing that, and like, oh yeah, studying Spanish for an hour a day, that's not enough. You need to study more. And since the thought of studying more than an hour a day on Spanish is overwhelming, then I'll study anything. And and then yeah. So then my conscience is like, yeah, that's what I thought. You don't do what you need to do. And wait, I'm gonna just pause for the cause for a second because I lost my train of thought. So these thoughts are going through my mind, and it's like, how will you be able to do any of this? Oh, that's what I was gonna say next. So while I'm dealing with these thoughts, and while I decide to like binge on TV, then I stay up late because I'm binging on TV, and then I'm like, oh, I can't fall asleep, but maybe it has something to do with the fact that I keep pushing play for the next episode. So then like my physical health is being like impacted, because now not only am I being attacked by my thoughts, like I don't have enough sleep, and then I have to wake up, and I have to wake up early, and then I'm like pushing myself because, oh girl, you cannot wake up late. You cannot be late to school. So so my coping keeps me up late, and then my mind is like, you got to be on time. So I get up on time and I go to school, and then while I'm at school, I was already bored. Now I'm actually sleepy plus bored. And so like, then it's like this ruthless cycle that happened last week. Ruthless, right? And so then Friday, I go and get my hair done, and I happen to be talking to somebody, and then I have a conversation that just kind of shoves me over the edge just a little bit. So I'm going to try not to go into this too much because it's a shaky area for me. So then we're having a conversation. And in this conversation, she is saying, or we're saying, we're having a conversation about Christianity. And in this conversation, like, I feel like my complete lack of current spiritual foundation is exposed, right? So when I'm talking about something that I don't know, I feel exposed. I try not to speak like I know something if I don't know. If I don't know, I try to say I don't know. But in this area, it used to be stuff that I felt like I knew that I was speaking on and I could reference back to. But currently, I feel like every time I reference something, like I can hear the argument to why what I'm saying is not true. And so it makes it hard for me to complete the statement. So we're talking about spirituality, right? And in this conversation, we're talking about like claiming Christianity, yet not like, she was basically saying like, why claim Christianity if you follow that up with, but I'm not this type of Christian, or that's not Christianity, or this is not Christianity. She's like, instead of picking apart Christianity, just say, like, just speak on your spiritual life in a different way, not using the word Christianity, because if you're picking it apart, then that's apparently not what you are. So, so this is hard because, like, I'm trying to have this conversation where I'm, like, supporting my beliefs, but I don't know what I believe, and I don't know how to know what I believe, because what I believed is fully based on this Bible that I don't feel like I believe in all of the Bible because of, like, the way it's misinterpreted through the lines of the interpretation that has been, like, years of interpretation. I feel like it's been misinterpreted, or it's been misquoted, or like, I agree with this, but I don't agree with that. So then it's like, if I don't agree with the whole thing, how can I make it my foundation for what I'm saying I believe on this topic? So anyway, I try not to, like, have, like, philosophical debates or about it, because I know that I'm gonna sound what I feel like is like an idiot, like, or sound like someone who's talking about something they don't know. And I really don't like to be in that position. And so the reason why I would say this pushed me over the edge is because it just, I feel like I suppressed the, oh, you really don't understand the foundation of your life right now. And so, like, I already felt like, if you want to go back to the beginning, the, like, oh, you haven't progressed, and oh, you don't understand the foundation of life. And if you don't understand it, if you don't, like, know, if you don't know what you're talking about, and you don't work hard enough, or you're lazy, or you don't have discipline, or you don't have consistency, or you don't have a drive, and you don't have a master plan, then you're not going to do anything, and you're not going to help help anybody. So what are you here for? And so that's like the spiral that kind of happens in the mind. And then, like, thankfully, I've read enough self-help books or watched a lot of like motivational speakers and seen people's journey. And so in the moment where like I felt the worst, like I was able to freeze and be like, so when I started to ask the question, like, what are you here for then? Then, like, my mind, like, I was able to freeze and, like, step back and look at the thoughts that got me to this spiral, which, like, what got me to the bottom of the spiral. Because at this point, by, like, Friday or Saturday, I was at the bottom of the spiral, like just bad. And mind you, your mental health very much affects your physical health. So now I'm sick. Now I don't feel good. Like now I physically don't feel good. I'm coughing and sneezing, and it's just bad. And I'm like, then I'm like, you can't. Then I can't go to work because I don't feel good. And then if I can't go to work, then, oh my gosh, that oh, you're lazy, you don't do anything. It's like, oh, now you stay at home. Now you gonna look lazy. Now you just trying to make, because you got a cough. Like, anyway, so bottom line is I was able to stop. And what happened with this journaling is I was able to stop and like recognize that, hey, you are currently being attacked right now, Tori. What is happening right now is you're being attacked by thoughts. And these thoughts are coming from your mind, but they don't have to be the truth. So let's not suppress the thoughts, because when you suppress them, they're still there and they come out with you watching Netflix for hours and finishing Stranger Things seasons 1 through 3 in 2 days. Let's not suppress them, right? Let's look at them. So this is what I had to do. I acknowledged that, 1, I'm under attack. 2, I took note of the thoughts that were under attack. So I wrote out everything I pretty much just shared to you guys. I wrote out what the thoughts were, right? And like what the process, and I looked at the process. So I'm in a situation that freaks me out. And then I say all these mean things to myself about why I'm here and why I can't leave here. And then I get sad and I start to like cope with that by doing stuff that makes me happy, or makes me feel warm or comfortable or not alone, which is watching a good show. And then I feel guilty about watching a show and wasting my time. And then I, in that, prove myself right with not putting forth the effort like I wanted to. So I'm pausing here because I'm like, am I confusing people? I want to make sure the steps that I'm stating are clear. So those are the steps that happen. The attack, the reaction to the attack, the trying to get better, or the trying to combat the attack with, well, you know what? I can work on the side. I can do this and I can do that. And then the attack saying, but you can't because you don't got these things. And then the acceptance of that. And I feel like that's the key part. The acceptance of that and saying, all right, and the coping of, all right, well, I guess I can't do this. So I'll just cope. And some people smoke weed, and I'm not saying that all smoking weed is just coping, but some people use weed as just a coping mechanism. Some people watch TV as a coping mechanism. Some people, and because TV in itself, I don't feel like it's bad, but it can be used as a coping mechanism. Some people use alcohol, or some people use other people. Some people use sex, or some people use whatever other things to cope with the thoughts that have been presented. And in that coping, they accept the thoughts for truth. But for me right now, like, I decided after hearing all these and letting, like, well, one, I did accept it for a while, for like the rest of this week and this weekend. And it wasn't until today where I was like actually feeling better that I could say, you know what, these don't have to be truths. Like, I can make something different. So here I am. I'm making a YouTube video. Like, I'm working on one of the things that were on my list to do, and deciding to focus on like one thing, because while I do have those like literally list of 11 things that I want to do, I can't do all of them at the same time. And while that feels like I'm failing at 10 things, at least I'm accomplishing one and not failing 11 things. So I made this video to help people, if someone else goes through experiences like this, to remind yourself. Like, I had to remind myself, Tori, you have progressed. You have done some things. Like, mind you, like, you might not be able to clearly say, well, I've shot over the moon and done this, this, and this, but you have progressed. And deciding to be consistent at one thing, like, and so I am hesitantly pledging myself to like post a video once a week. And it might be about Spain, it might be about my mental health, or my mental health and Spain, hence like this video, or it might be about, whatever it's on my mind at that time. What's the other thing I wrote? Oh, and to let go of perfectionism, because posting this video was hard, not just because of how vulnerable like I have been in this video, but because I was like, are you going to do it the right way? Are you going to share it the right way? And even as I'm recording, like, my mind starts editing how I do this and how I do this. So, but letting go of that has let me get through this video very well, because I feel like I really expressed the process that I went through. And even while I feel like I did it well, I know it didn't come out exactly like how I had it in my mind. But being okay with that, like being okay with, I have a picture in my mind of how this was going to go. And yet it went to me well, but it's not the same. And being okay with them not lining up perfectly. So yeah, I want to leave you guys with these steps. Recognize when you're in an attack. Recognize when your mind is attacking you, right? And understand that your mind attacking you is not, it's not just to make you feel bad. Your mind is trying to protect you. So like, if you guys have seen like the movie I, Robot or Eagle Eye, those computer systems was like, my logic is undeniable. Or in Eagle Eye, it was like, I'm trying to protect you, but it started killing people. And what your mind does is trying to protect you from different things, and ultimately like failure or embarrassment. And the way it does that is by attacking you from doing things that may risk that. And to accomplish anything, you have to risk embarrassment, or you have to risk failure. To really accomplish great things, you have to risk embarrassment or failure. And so your mind is like, oh, I'm not going to let you do that. So here are these thoughts that will keep you in a safe spot, keep you watching Netflix, because then you won't be embarrassed, or you won't put yourself in a position that your mind feels like will embarrass the unit. And I learned these kind of concepts from this book called Inner Mean Girl. And it's called Inner Mean Girl, but I feel like it applies to both men and women, with that concept that your mind starts to try to protect you, but it does it in different ways. In the book Inner Mean Girl, which I highly recommend, it shows how different people's mind reacts. So like my mind reacts with an inner mean girl that focuses on perfectionism, like getting things the right way. And if it's not doing it the right way, then it starts sending certain messages that would affect someone who is trying to be perfect. But for someone else, it would send, you might have a different inner mean girl. Excuse me. You might have a different inner mean girl that sends you different messages that wouldn't affect me, but it does affect you. And my messages might not affect you, but my messages might not affect you, but they would affect me. Right. So read the book, recognize when you're under attack, observe what the thoughts are. Let the thoughts fully, like I wrote all the thoughts out, fully write out what is happening, what you're hearing in your mind, what you're thinking. Recognize that you don't have to step into those. You don't have to follow into those. Like your mind saying you're not consistent, you're not disciplined. You can decide to believe that by following in that step, by not exercising that day, or by not doing whatever goal you have for doing that day. Or you could say, I am going to practice consistency today. Your habits of what you've done in the past don't matter in this moment. Every moment you have a new opportunity to start a new thing. Every moment you have the opportunity to decide if you're going to be consistent for that moment. And if you keep doing that, you keep deciding, I am going to be consistent, I am going to be consistent, then that thought that you aren't consistent will show itself to be false. And the last thing is to believe in yourself. And so my outro will be a song called I Believe by Yolanda Adams. I'm going to sing it to you guys with my raspy voice and playing it off my cell phone. They said it wouldn't make it so far home. And ever since they said it, it's been hard. But never mind the nights you had to cry, 'cause you would never let me go inside. You work too hard and you know exactly what you want and need. So believe, and you can never give up. You can reach your goals. Just talk to your soul and say, I believe, I believe, I believe, oh, my dream, I believe, I believe, that's why that is what I do believe. The closer just that thing in your soul, and you know that the rules will let them show. You keep creating pictures in your mind, so just believe they will come true with time. It will be fine. Leave all of the cares and stress behind. Just let it go. Let the music go inside. Yeah, pain. And just start to breathe. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. All I dream of, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. Oh, that is what I do believe. I wish I could dance to that. what people say. Oh, turn away with all my hopes and dreams. I will believe, even though it takes time for me. I won't give up. I'll keep now, looking to the sky. I will achieve all my dreams. I will always believe. I So believe, y'all. Do it.